Hello. Hello. Welcome home, my family. Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. Aho mataki oyasin. All my relations. We are one big family. Familia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, feel free to give a thumbs up showing that you are present and you are happy to be present. Today I have for you something very special. I'm going to be sharing with you this new book I am reading. I have just begun today. I am helping a friend, a lovely elderly woman, and in her book collection she had this, and it brought me great excitement to randomly open and to access and identify some of the stories that are shared within here. And it became important to me to find this on Amazon and to find a used version. And in the notes where they said that there are no markings, just subtly bent pages. So this is called Taming Your Gremlin by Richard Carson. And to start, I'm going to read the back of the book to you. Okay? It goes, "There is a gremlin within you. He is the narrator in your head. He tells you who you are, and he defines and interprets your every experience. He wants you to feel bad, and he pursues this loathsome task by a means of sophisticated maneuvers just when you feel you've out-argued or overcome him. He changes his disguise and his strategy. He is the sticky sort. Grapple with him and you become more enmeshed. What he hates is simply being noticed. That's the first step to his taming. If you have a low tolerance for self-help books or they haven't worked for you, here is a more creative yet practical approach to solving life's problems. Through the powerful metaphor of the gremlin, presented so imaginatively by Richard Carson's writing and novel, Rogers' artwork, Novely. Novle is the first name. Not sure how to pronounce that. Bear with me. You will find ways to identify and banish the tenacious, self-defeating aspects of your personality. I loved Taming Your Gremlin, a guide to enjoying yourself. I felt I was in a very human picture show where I and all the other humans were being shown how we had all been under a witch's spell and did not know it. We were being shown that the spell readily consisted of a spider's web, that threads of which were very easily broken once we saw them. Breaking the web does not mean destroying the spider. The imagery of this book led me to a very profound awareness, a new form of the fable of the emperor's new clothes. I expect to make liberal use of this book in my seminars on becoming fully human. Virginia M. Sutter, a family therapist and author of People Making and Conjoint Family Therapy. So I'm going to begin reading the opening of this book. As much as my inner kid would absolutely love to read the entire book to you, right? I have to instead encourage you to give yourself permission to indulge in this book yourself. However, I'm going to give you a taste of what it's like so you can have a little bit of playful energy. I'm also interested in showing you some of the pictures inside of this book. So let us begin. Introducing the book, Me, You, and Your Gremlin. The book. This book is not intended to guide you to enlightenment, to eternal bliss, or to riches. It will, however, help you to enjoy yourself more and more each day. It is simple and practical, and I hope that reading it brings you much pleasure. Me. Over the last 15 years or so, a number of people have come to me for counseling. They have come with a variety of presenting problems, including. Before moving along, I'd like to show the picture of the gremlin. Tame me, you say. Oh, we'll see about this. Hmm. Okay. And moving on. It says, so including, oops, too many pages. Anxiety experienced all sorts of ways, strange behavior, and strange relationships. While my service to them could be described in clinical, philosophical, and perhaps even metaphysical terms, the truth is that I have spent most of my time with them simply helping them improve their ability to enjoy themselves. I have had the pleasure of seeing not only individuals, but couples and entire families enhance their potential for day to day, moment to moment enjoyment. And in the process, for most of them anyway, their presenting problems have disappeared. Those who themselves were helping professionals, such as physicians, teachers, ministers, and psychologists, tell me that increasing their ability to enjoy themselves has contributed to an increase in their effectiveness with those whom they serve. I am no master of the art of self enjoyment. I am, however, a conscientious student of the process, and I am steadily becoming more and more proficient, not only at enjoying myself, but at assisting others to do the same. You, having commented on what this book is and is not, and on who I am and am not, let me say a word about who you are and are not. You probably already know, or at least sense, that you are not your body, your feelings, your thoughts, your personality, or even some complex combination of these variables. Furthermore, you are not the roles you play, such as mother, father, wife, friend, up person, down person, client, counselor, all around good person, or low down, no good Nick. These are just labels to describe your style of existence at any point in time. The real you is a pure life force and is not limited by your concepts and ideas about who you are. It is the real you that is able to experience and enjoy the body in which you dwell, the external physical world in which you live, and the thoughts, memories, and fantasies your brain creates and stores. I do not know all that there is to know about the real you, or the real me for that matter. But I have experienced enough to know that the real you is beautiful beyond your most creative fantasy. And allowed to do so, it will guide the evolvement of your life in a manner that will feel terrific. The real you feels wonderful all of the time. Therefore, the more you are able to allow the real you complete freedom, the more you will enjoy yourself. This may sound simple because it is, but it is not easy. For while you were created capable of complete and constant enjoyment, there is within you a gremlin intent on squelching your very essence and consequently your level of enjoyment. Your gremlin. You already have some sense of your gremlin, though you may have never focused your awareness on him or labeled him. Your gremlin is the narrator in your head. He has influenced you since you came into this world, and he accompanies you throughout this entire existence. He is with you when you wake up in the morning and when you go to sleep at night. He tells you who you are and how you are, and he defines and interprets your every experience. He wants you to accept his interpretations as reality, and his goal from moment to moment, day to day, is to squelch the real, vibrant you within. I am not sure of the factors that contributed to the makeup of your particular gremlin. I am sure, however, that he was created at least in part by your past experiences. Your gremlin wants you to feel bad, and he carries out this loathsome pursuit via sophisticated maneuvers, which we will discuss later. And by convincing you to waste time reliving the past, worrying about the future, and analyzing the relationships between all sorts of people and things. He wants you to believe that he has your best interest at heart and that his primary purpose is to serve and protect you. His motive is actually less honorable. He is intent on making you feel lousy. His caution about life and living is inordinate, and his methods of control are overzealous. If by chance you are familiar with the theories of psychotherapy, take note that your gremlin is not the parent ego state of Eric Bern's transactional analysis, the top dog of Fritz Perls' Gestalt therapy, or the superego of Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. He is not merely a part of your psychological makeup. He is a gremlin, and his personality, like his dastardly intention, is all his own. One thing is for certain, as you begin to simply notice your gremlin, you will become acutely sensitive to the fact that you are not your gremlin, but rather his observer. You will see clearly that your gremlin has no real hold on you. As this awareness develops, you will begin to enjoy yourself more and more. It is to you, the observer, that this book is written. Simply noticing. The simply noticing cannot be overstated. Simply noticing has nothing to do with analyzing, understanding, predicting the future, or undoing the past. Simply noticing involves only simply noticing. Trying and figuring it out. I hope that you will not try to figure out the gist of what I'm saying, for both trying and figuring out are a waste of time. Try to and or figure out is to invite your gremlin into our relationship. 2 is a company and 3 is a crowd, especially if the third party is a gremlin. Besides, what I have to say to you is none of his business. Instead of trying to or figuring out, simply relax and breathe comfortably, noticing what you are reading. If you get bored, confused, overwhelmed, distracted, or spaced out, simply stop for a while. More about gremlins. Gremlins are very sophisticated and have developed elaborate styles of blocking the natural, excited, vibrant soul within each of us. As you increase your awareness of your own gremlin, you may actually develop some appreciation of his creativity. My choice to use a male pronoun to general reference to gremlins grows out of my own very intimate, not to be confused with enjoyable, relationship with my own gremlin, who's most often presents himself as a male. I say most often because gremlins change not only their sex, but their entire personality from moment to moment and from situation to situation. Your gremlin can appear as your best friend and advisor, or as your grossest, most ill-intentional enemy. Regardless of his appearance, he must be observed. Left to do his own will, he will make you feel miserable. He may allow you to have occasional highs, but most often he will lead you into periods of intense anxiety, sadness, anger, and eventually emptiness. Gremlins I have met. Many of my clients have come to know their gremlins so well that they have developed their abilities to visualize them. They tell me that this has been an aid in helping them to tame their gremlins. A few of the gremlins my clients have introduced me are described below. Your gremlin may resemble any of these, but I assure you that his style of making you miserable will be unique. After all, he has known you for years and has developed sophisticated maneuvers for squelching the natural, lovable you within. Gremlins are far more complex than these few examples indicate. Those I have had an impressive repertoire of methods for engendering misery. Each, however, seems to have a preferred strategy. So instead of reading all the elaborative stories, I'm going to name them, okay? So one of them is the general. The other one is the artist. I'm being guided to share a little bit, okay? So the general is the person that's constantly telling you what to do and is in charge and thinks that you have to do this or else you're going to end up in this situation. And then there's the artist. The artist is the one that is painting a picture saying that in order for everything to be wonderful, it has to look just like this. And then each time we get close to being just like this, we change it and become an artist again. And that's that dynamic. Then there's the Hulk, which may tell stories within itself. This is the angry character that we have no control over, which absolutely comes on stage and we are terrified of this version of ourselves coming on stage. And then there's the big ugly. And this is the author's personal identified inner monster, which he describes as a dragon. who constantly engages him in a battle and causes him to have self-doubt and worry, and always tries to convince him that the dragon has the power to make them miserable, and that the author is constantly grappling with this gremlin. Here's a picture that he describes his personal gremlin, which I find to be a little entertaining. And then there's the coach. And the coach is always telling you, go, 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 do this, get this done, and just keeps you going and doing and doing and doing, which in this particular case in the book, the person is also smoking 3 packets of cigarettes and drinking whiskey and is constantly applying those same methods to those same escaping behaviors. And then there's the reverend, which is criticizing what you're doing in like almost like a religious standpoint, or that this is sinful or it's not good, and self-attacking behaviors in this way. And then there's the Grim Reaper. And the Grim Reaper is a character or gremlin that constantly keeps the person in perpetual emotional pain, and that they are basically always in a state of emotional suffering. So their attention is constantly on the awareness of negative situations or fantasy, like imagining the future or the past, and constantly in that state to the point where it becomes a natural way of being. And we also become enmeshed with the Grim Reaper, meaning that we cannot tell the difference that this is our gremlin or our ego or this alternate side of us. And I will read a sentence from here. It says, under the Grim Reaper, it says, hold on, I would like to go backwards. Like most people who are enmeshed with a Grim Reaper or the like, she was unaware of her habit of suffering. She was, we might say, in it. She did not realize her control over how she felt or her ability to choose to enjoy herself and her life. There's also the mentioning how our gremlin is going to be catered to us, that version of ourselves on stage. And there's one more page I'm interested in sharing, along with maybe a couple other parts. We'll see how it goes. So this part is the gremlin myths. And it says, you may have noticed from these few examples that gremlins tend to perpetuate myths about people, life, and the nature of our universe. Often the myths are used to cloud our pure experience and have been around so long and are much part of our existence that we are unaware of them. So that you might become sensitized to some of your own gremlins myths. I have listed below some of the most common myths perpetuated by gremlins I have met in the last few months. So I'm going to name all these. However, I will encourage you to simply notice if you identify and exist with any of these thoughts or these feelings, and if they feel true to you in this moment. And then maybe we can exercise to see on how we can prove to ourselves how that's not true. So number 1 is your true self is unlovable. Number 2, you can only enjoy yourself for short periods of time. Number 3, fast is good and slow is bad. 4, to show sadness is to be weak or childish or unreliable or overly dependent. Number 5, nice girls don't enjoy sex. Number 6, nice girls certainly don't show that they enjoy sex. Number 7, asking for what you want is selfish. Number 8, to show anger is to be sinful, childish, unprofessional, and or out of control. Number 9, to express uncensored joy is to be silly or unprofessional. Number 10, not acknowledging and or not expressing feelings will make them go away. Number 11, something terrible is going to happen. Number 12, men are better leaders than women, and the cruelest myths of all. Number 13, worry has value. Number 14, anxiety has value. And 15, guilt has value. As you become more and more astute at simply noticing your gremlin, you will become aware of the myths he uses to dampen your happiness. Some may be obvious to you already. You may want to jot them down. For this purpose, I have included at the end of this book several blank sheets of paper. A few words about the gremlin taming process. Taming your gremlin is a simple, not to be confused with easy, process. Taming your gremlin can be an enjoyable process. Taming your gremlin takes practice and persistence. Taming your gremlin requires the sort of effort implied by words like allowing and letting, not by words like trying and straining. There are three basic processes involved in taming your gremlin. They are simply noticing, choosing and playing with options, and being in process. Simply noticing. To simply notice is to be aware, to pay attention. Simply noticing has nothing to do with asking yourself why you are like you are, although these answers will become obvious as you pay attention to yourself. In taming your gremlin, it is important to simply notice how you are, not why you are, how you are. Thinking about and simply noticing are very different processes. Thinking about is the preferred activity of your gremlin and the product of your gremlin's uptightness about not being able to completely understand and control you and the universe. Simply noticing, on the other hand, is what happens when you experience yourself and your surroundings without inputs from your gremlin. Thinking about removes you from your current experience. Simply noticing puts you in contact with your current experience. Simply noticing is more exciting and productive than thinking about. When you are simply noticing, you can love and create naturally and fully. When you are thinking about, you are anything but creative. Simply noticing is the first and most important step in the gremlin taming process. Let us call your ability to simply notice your awareness. Awareness. Awareness is a tool. At any point in time, you can choose to focus your awareness on your body, on the world around you via your sensory receptors, or on your thoughts, fantasies, ideas, and or memories. When you focus your awareness on your body or on what you are directly experiencing with your sensory receptors, you are directly experiencing with your sensory receptors, you are grounded in reality. When, however, you focus your awareness on your thoughts, fantasies, ideas, and memories, you are involved in the world of make-believe. In the world of make-believe, you can spend time reliving the past, rehearsing for the future, predicting the future, attempting to make meaning out of what you notice about your body or the world around you, or simply entertaining yourself. To dwell in the world of make-believe is neither good nor bad. It can, in fact, be productive to learn from the past or plan for the future. Certainly, fantasy can be very entertaining and is necessary in order for creativity to occur. To lead a full, rich life, however, and to enjoy yourself, it will be helpful to be conscious of the flow of your awareness from your body to the world as you experience it with your sensory receptors to the world of make-believe. Sometimes we unconsciously slip into the world of make-believe. If, for example, you and I were to be talking right now and I saw you looking at me, I might imagine that you were listening to me, or that you were bored, or that you were angry with me, or any combination of these. Or who knows what. I might even predictate my actions on my fantasy. If I imagined that you were listening to me, I would probably continue talking. If I imagine that you were bored, I might stop talking. If I imagine that you were angry with me, I might get upset and begin communicating with you very defensively. My action would be based on make-believe fantasy, and my fantasy, in all likelihood, would be based on past experiences rather than on the reality of the current moment. Taming your gremlin does not involve withdrawing your attention from the world of make-believe. It simply involves making certain that you enter the world of make-believe by choice rather than habit. Your awareness will serve you best when you gently focus it. Words like spaced out or foggy describe your existence when your awareness is not focused. Being spaced out is no more than a generalizing of your awareness that is taking in too much at once. A key word for when it comes to focusing your awareness is slow. Another key word is noticing. Many people grow up believing that their awareness extends only to those boundaries defined by the limits of their sensory receptors. Other people have expanded their awareness beyond their physical senses. Some people have, for example, developed clairvoyant abilities. Whether or not your awareness is expanded beyond your physical senses is totally irrelevant when it comes to taming your gremlin and enjoying yourself. Regardless of how expansive or how limited your senses are, you may still you must still learn to gently focus your awareness if you are to tame your gremlin. The first step in taming your gremlin is to simply notice him at work. Awareness is a tool for doing just that. Your awareness will help you differentiate yourself from your gremlin. Differentiating yourself from your gremlin. In order to tame your gremlin, you must detect his presence. And to detect his presence, you must differentiate yourself from him. On occasion, his amorphous style of relating may make this difficult task. It is, however, possible. One way to do this is to slow down and establish the current moment as home base, from which to witness your gremlin. I'm about to describe 2 ways of doing this. I hope that you will experiment with these methods. Doing so will require your full attention, and obviously you cannot be reading this book and giving your full attention to these methods at the same time. I suggest that you take a moment or two to read the next few pages, and then when you are in a mood to experiment, do precisely what I suggest. So I feel like this book is like really gifted at like summarizing mindfulness and this form of meditation. It just simplifies so many lessons that I have learned and just like condensed it into like a childlike book that makes it very easy to absorb. I'm going to mention the 2 methods that he goes on to teach. The first one is guiding your awareness. So he talks about where we have the power to choose what we focus our attention on. And meditators will teach you this, that what you are detecting and focusing your attention on, it's going to change your emotional state. So if you are focusing on something that makes you feel sad, you're going to be generating sad thoughts. So it's the same thing. If you think happy thoughts, right, then you're going to be feeling happy feelings. So simply noticing how we feel. So he talks about one of the ways of separating ourselves from our gremlin is where we control our attention. And controlling the attention is mentioned as putting our awareness on our skin, our body, our breathing, and being in the moment in that way, and then focusing on the external world, and then going back into the self. Meditators, I've also been taught this as going into the dream or falling asleep is another term that is used in consciousness development. Something else that this book is making me think of is to teach you about cognitive distortions. There are like, I want to say 20 or 19 cognitive distortions. I believe that the first book I've ever read this in was called, bear with me, Coddling the American Mind or something like this. And the book elaborately explains different cognitive distortions, which is fortune telling, emotional reasoning. There's a bunch of them. I would love to memorize them so I can share them with you. The next thing that he talks about is being grounded. And being grounded in this book is, in summary, being fully present. And it talks about one of this. I'm touched because it's recently come to my awareness to study this method again, and then for it to come up again after someone has just verbally expressed to me this method of working with trauma. It's in the book, and I was like, oh my God, you're following me everywhere, God, why? But it was beautiful. So it's talking about the exercise where he doesn't mention this exact exercise. Let me also be fruitful in that, where we concentrate on 5 things we can touch, 5 things we can smell, things that we can taste, things that we can hear, like touching into each of our senses. And instead, he goes into saying, now I am aware that I am thinking about what I'm going to write on the paper next. Now I am aware of the sound of the pencil lead on the paper. Now I hear the music in the background. He talks about like currently he's now aware of this, and that kind of brings him to the present moment. And that's something that makes trauma and PTSD and complex PTSD, CPTSD, signature, okay? Because in the trauma, we are currently re-experiencing that same emotion, that same fight or flight, or the same body, that we cannot tell energetically that we are no longer in that past state, that the past moment is still expressing itself now. So by being fully present and allowing ourselves to be with what's here now, is a completely different reference. And then the book keeps going on to being aware of our habits. And that is as far as I've gotten so far. And basically, I became so excited and so like touched that I was like, oh my God, I need to go live and share and share and share and share because wow, like again, a simplified version of such a vast majority of what I've learned. And some of this information that's in this book, I have learned from the Amrit Institute of spending time at an ashram and getting to know these amazing lineages. And oh my God, blessed be to Bapuji, okay? Oh my God, Kripalu, Swami Kripalu. Like, if not for these lineages, I would not know these things. And without other people who are on the same path, such as my partner, my precious partner, my love of my life. He is one of my greatest teachers in meditation and mindfulness, and he is constantly applying these same concepts to himself. So again, to recognize this. And my partner also really absolutely loves consciousness and neuroscience. And so sometimes I'm getting to also interact with some of those amazing philosophers and concepts. And one of those people, because of him, is Thomas Metzinger. And Thomas Metzinger is, I believe, a German philosopher who talks about agency and consciousness and our ego. And they're kind of very, very complex structures. However, if it's speaking to you, I will encourage you to read Being No One. However, that is very extreme and not a book for everyone. So perhaps starting at Ego Tunnel is best. However, if you're already exercising and have neuroplasticity in these realms of mind and being human, and seek to know what is this experience, it's very beautiful because he teaches about how we have a model in our heads about who we are. Kind of like Ramachandran talks about how we have like a map of our body. So that's also fascinating if you haven't gotten into that. And so our brain also makes a model of the world. And a cheesy or childlike reference point of this is like the world is bad, or the world's a scary place, or this world is strange and wonderful. Okay, so I'm grateful to share some of these things with you. These are things that have uplifted my spirit. It was uplifting to my spirit to read this very childlike nature and silly book, and I'm very much so looking forward to reading more of the book. The imagery is just, I would say, slightly hilarious, and I would love to know if there's any elders here, people who are older than me, who have read this already and already know about this, because this is, to me, it's fascinating and it's beautiful, and I really, really enjoy this. And it makes me think of Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson is always talking about our inner monster. And then this also makes me think of internal family systems of no bad parts and how all of me is welcome here. And I'm so grateful to all of you who are so welcoming of all of me and all that I am. Hello, I can see you in the comments. Hello, Karshan. Hello, Thomas. I forgot Denmark, the time differences. Wow, heart surgery. I'm glad it went well. Already starting to work. That is not good. I hope that you are listening to your heart and not your gremlin telling you that you have to, and all these things. This book does touch on that. I can imagine this book might be available in audio version, or there might be alternate resources, maybe that PDF website. I mean, there's tons of websites that offer free books, or maybe you're like me and you love to get hands-on. This book is so cool and fun for me, and I'm looking forward to finishing this book. And I have a couple other books I'm simultaneously reading as well, and I love you so much, and there's nothing you can do about it. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I have not learned this from Brother Ali, although he sings this in his songs too. I have actually learned this also from the ashram that belongs to Amrit Desai. I'm so grateful for Amrit Desai. I'm so grateful for Casadega. I'm so grateful for all these things. And before closing, there's one more thing that I've learned today that I'm so interested in sharing with you. And I have to give a shout out to Muhammad of Africa. Okay, my friend. My friend, inshallah. Okay. My friend has shared with me this video of Jordan Peterson speaking to a person who is speaking about Islam. And he goes on to teach how the meaning of the word disbeliever, it actually means someone who is ungrateful. And so in this podcast, they're kind of going into that. I've actually shared this same podcast on my Facebook and on my Twitter. I'm not sure where you are or if you're on either of those. However, I have shared on those platforms, those links. They can be accessed. One of them easiest to access is facebook.com/I love Trina Mason. That's my Facebook fan page where you can access any links or sometimes music videos. I'm always sharing all kinds of different things through that platform. I am currently in transition of building a blog and my own website. I'm also on Patreon. I'm moving everything to Patreon as much as possible. However, you can say that there's some setbacks because there are certain platforms that make it really easy, such as OF. Okay, so this platform is a place where I can directly upload the video to the website and it's stored and has free hosting. It's not really free because they take a portion of my proceeds. However, I'm also having a platform to directly upload, and I'm still like ministering to myself and trying to figure out how I choose to express myself and how I like to be received and whatnot, and reestablishing myself and my self-image and all of these things, and these things have just been very, very helpful. Thank you, Muhammad. I have not finished the podcast. However, I am in process, and again, thank you, and alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. So blessed to have you. One last thing I will say is I have received an email from a very amazing Muslim person who has taken the time to send me a PDF book of particular prayers. And in this book of prayers, it talks about how Muhammad, peace be upon him, the prophet, that he was a slave of God. And I found that to be very fascinating because I've recently gone to a church where they worship Christ. And in this space, this I wanted to call her a prophet too. Preacher, worshiper, and she's calling out to God, and she's just publicly worshiping and calling God, Jesus, Master, Master. And I just thought that that was so precious because it just made me think of this particular line of keep your lamps burning. And there's so many other things that it ignited in me. And I apologize if you're allergic to any of this God talk, okay? I'm just kind of fascinated by this stuff. And I'm a little bit a devotee of seeking this thing that is known as him or divine mother or divine father. And it's been very intricate and little bits obsessive, you know? And I'm doing my best not to spiritual bypass and to deviate from anything I've been resisting. I had my period of time where I absolutely, you could say, I hated God. I didn't understand why certain diseases were here or why innocent babies were gone. I was angry and very confused and challenging. And I've also been abused under the name of Jesus. There was people who absolutely worshiped Jesus, and they did some of the worst, most disgusting things to me as a child. And it made me hate him, and hate everyone that represented him. And then we could say I've learned some new things since then, and I'm just looking at things a little bit differently, and I'm not being as judgmental and shutting down and ignorant. In fact, anything that I am noticing that I'm resisting, that I'm ignorant to, and I'm running away from, sometimes I'm doing my best to engage in those things. I'm challenging my own thinking and saying, is it true? Thank you, Dwayne, for teaching me that. Is it true? Is it true? I know that this is like an ancient teaching, but my friend Dwayne is the one who really, really beat that one home for me of constantly asking, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And a lot of times it isn't true. It isn't an absolute truth that everything is multidimensional. Hello, Stephen. Thank you for joining. Yes, so it's been, I would call it enlightening, meaning like my heart is getting lighter and my mind is getting softer. There's less harsh tones and less need for accuracy and absolute knowing, and a little bit more of a gentleness in that surrender. And I call that samadhi. For me, that's samadhi. And I love all of these teachings, and I'm always attempting unconsciously to like weave them all together. And for me, that's been super beautiful. Super beautiful. I have the intention of coming back here another time discussing Brahmacharya and Mantakya. So that's going to be something very, very exciting if you are interested in that, especially because we're coming into, excuse the language, but it's NoFab November. Okay, so I think it's a good time to come out and to talk about some of these things, especially about Tantra and the sacredness of energetic exchanges, and especially epigenetic memory and ancestral stuff. On another bright side, I'll be coming back to share something with you in regards to this. If you have not heard of Astarius Miraculi, I encourage you to listen to the Spirit Rap. Okay, something fun. I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm really, really leaving now. And Shanti. Shanti means peace. So, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me. Take care. Until next time, I will see you.